Hi, everyone. My name is Jonathan Hansen. I am the Director of Development at Hunger Task Force in Milwaukee. I'm really pleased to be here today along with my colleague, Sarah Bresler, our farm manager. And first off, before we talk about Hunger Task Force and our farm, I would just like to say a thank you to the Harkin Institute for their generous support of Hunger Task Force, as well as a thank you to all the folks out there in person and virtually who are taking the time to watch our presentation today. Next slide, please. I'm going to start our presentation just talking a little bit about Hunger Task Force and our mission, values, and programs here in Milwaukee and throughout the state of Wisconsin. Next slide. Hunger Task Force is Milwaukee's free and local food bank, and we are the state's anti-hunger leader in Wisconsin. Our mission statement, succinctly, is to feed people today and to end future hunger. That makes us very unique as an anti-hunger organization because there's many organizations who work to feed people through a food bank, and there's also many organizations who work to end future hunger through public policy and advocacy work. But Hunger Task Force is unique because we do both as an organization, and feeding people today informs the work that we do to end future hunger and vice versa. So we feel very strongly that the true way to end hunger is to do both those facets of the work. There will always be a need for feeding people through emergency food services, but at the same time, the true end to hunger is through strong public policy work, as we'll talk about in a little bit here. Our 4 core values as an organization are defined by dignity, justice, compassion, and stewardship. Next slide. You may see the words free and local on Hunger Task Force's, our logo, our trucks, the uniforms that our staff wear in the community, and on all of our annual reports are different pieces of collateral. And those 2 words are very important to us as an organization, and they distinguish us and make our services and mission unique. Free means that Hunger Task Force as a food bank never charges for food. We never charge for the delivery of food, the storage of food, or any type of shared maintenance fees with the partner pantries and meal programs that we provide food to. And this is very unique because most food banks, I came to Hunger Task Force about 12 years ago, and I thought, well, that makes sense. Don't all food banks give their food away for free? But that's not the case. Hunger Task Force is one of the only food banks in the entire country that do not charge for their food. We have always believed that food should be distributed equitably to where the need is greatest in our community, not based on an organization's ability to pay for it. The word local, that's a little more self-explanatory. We were founded here in Milwaukee in 1974 by a group of community advocates who were committed to ending hunger, and specifically they were fighting for a school breakfast program in Milwaukee public schools. And over the years, we grew to incorporate a food bank into our mission and operation, and we have been totally community supported by the Milwaukee community ever since. So our support comes from the local community. The food that we deliver stays in our local community, and we are based in our local service here in Milwaukee as a direct service organization, but we also do take a statewide leadership role when it comes to public policy work and organizing and educating around the issue of hunger. Next slide, please. I want to talk a little bit about the 2 facets of our mission that I just described, feeding people today and ending future hunger. And most people identify with Hunger Task Force as a food bank, the feeding people today portion of what we do as an organization. As a food bank, we provide food absolutely free of charge to a network of over 200 food pantries, soup kitchens, homeless shelters, and low-income senior sites in Milwaukee County and across southeastern Wisconsin. Every month, we serve about 50,000 people. Over half the people that we serve are kids. About 10 to 15% of the people that we serve are seniors. But all in all, 50,000 people per month receive help from Hunger Task Force's food pantry network and many of the sites that we deliver healthy and nutritious food to. Another unique aspect of our organization is that we are the only My Plate food bank in the entire country. And as most of you likely know, My Plate is what the food pyramid used to be for the USDA's nutrition guidelines. So My Plate describes what every American should be eating on their plate for every meal of the day. Half your plate should be fruits and vegetables. At our food bank, we focus on low sodium vegetables and fruit in 100% juice. You should have whole grains on your plate. You should have lean proteins and also a side of low-fat dairy. So all of our food that we distribute as an organization is in alignment with the USDA's My Plate guidelines, and we represent not only healthy food exclusively in our food bank network, but we also ensure that the food that's delivered to local pantries, meal programs, and shelters is culturally appropriate. And it represents the background, the dietary needs, and or any religious needs that a particular family might have, as well as being appropriate to their household size and their needs as a family. So that all ties back into that core value of dignity that we hold true here at Hunger Task Force. The food that we distribute to our food bank is the same food that you or I would want to take off the shelf at a grocery store for our family, ensuring that it's culturally appropriate and appropriate to the household size and dietary needs of the family seeking help. Next slide, please. The second part of our mission, ending future hunger, really centers on our work as advocates. We were founded, as I mentioned earlier, as an anti-hunger public policy group. A group of community citizens were fighting for a school breakfast program within Milwaukee Public Schools. And to this day, that is still the central part of our mission, focused on ending future hunger. You can operate a food bank every day of the year. You can put food into an emergency food network, but the next day, people are going to be hungry again. That in itself is not a sustainable solution to ending hunger. Where we believe where you can truly end hunger is through strong federal nutrition programs. And so we as an organization spend a great deal of time organizing around those programs, researching those programs and knowing how they operate and how they are serving families, educating the general public as well as elected officials on why these programs are so crucial and important, and then also lobbying those same elected officials to make sure that programs are fully funded and they're being administered properly so that they are serving the most families possible and helping ultimately to take people out of food pantries and onto that next step towards independence. So a few examples of these programs that you may be familiar with are the SNAP program. We call that food share here in Wisconsin, but this is what the food stamp program used to be called. It is the largest anti-hunger federal nutrition program in the country and the first line of defense against hunger. Most people don't think of the school meal programs, breakfast and lunch, as anti-hunger programs, but they most certainly are. And we advocate very strongly for well-run school meal programs in our school districts across the state. The summer meals program is actually when hunger is at its peak in most communities. When kids lose school when kids lose access to school meal programs when school is out, summer meals becomes a critically important part of what we do as an organization. And here at Hunger Task Force, we organize over 140 meal sites locally that are going to serve about nearly 1 million meals per summer to kids in need in our community. The Women, Infants, and Children program is a federal program that provides crucial assistance to mothers with young infants. Hunger Task Force administers 2 large USDA commodity food programs. One's called the Emergency Food Assistance Program. The other is the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, which serves seniors. And these are commodity programs that provide grade A healthy foods that Hunger Task Force then distributes free of charge through our food bank network. I mentioned seniors before as a particularly very vulnerable population that we serve, and we also do advocate and administer a number of senior nutrition programs, including the Senior Farmers Market Voucher Program, which provides dollars for seniors during the farmers market season to purchase healthy fruits and vegetables from those farmers. One thing I want to end on in this slide right here in particular is that when we talk about ending future hunger and we talk about the importance of federal nutrition programs and how they can take people out of pantries, we have seen over the last 2 years during the pandemic, a time of great uncertainty, a time of great need, and a time of just really communities coming together to serve families on the front lines. We have found that as federal nutrition programs have become amplified and provided emergency benefits or provided new models and new ways of serving families, we have found that pantry traffic has inversely hit an all-time low. while these benefits have been high. So right there, that is a huge indicator that these programs do work when they are administered properly and they're strongly funded. They do take people out of food pantries and can help to provide those support for people while they might be unemployed, in between jobs. Obviously, the challenges of the pandemic have led to a myriad of different challenges for families and seniors in particular. But we know that when these programs are working like they should, they really help people. And so that is something that's often surprising to folks, is that right now, at this point in time, pantry traffic, despite all the continued challenges of the pandemic, is actually at a very all-time low in Milwaukee, and as I would venture to guess, probably in many communities across our country. So that is a very important part of what we do. It is that second in the 1-2 punch of feeding people today and ending future hunger. And as we move along through the presentation here, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Sarah, who is going to talk about a very special program within Hunger Task Force, the Hunger Task Force Farm, that has been earmarked for support from this year's Harkin Institute and the generous gift that has been made to our organization. And she's going to share much more about this program within our operation in detail. And so without further ado, I will turn things over to Sarah to talk about the Hunger Task Force Farm.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Bressler. I'm the farm manager for the Hunger Task Force Farm. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. You can go right to the next one. All right. So the farm is located in the city of Franklin, which is 20 minutes south of Milwaukee City proper. Hunger Task Force leases the 208-acre county park system land from Milwaukee County. The farm property is made up of 100 tillable acres for crop production and 100 acres of natural areas surrounding the Root River, which is one of the largest watersheds in the area. It spans 3 neighboring counties and empties into Lake Michigan. The farm also has a fish hatchery for production of lake perch, rainbow trout, and sunfish. The history of the farm goes back to the 1800s, when it was the Carmen family dairy farm and homestead. The Carmen family was one of the founding families of Franklin. The farm was donated to the county by the Carmen family, and it was then reinvented as a prison farm in 1946. So the principal mission of the work farm was to produce food for use at the neighboring correctional facility, as well as other county facilities such as hospitals. In the early 2000s, Milwaukee County partnered with Hunger Task Force to grow and distribute produce from the farm to sites within our network, including food pantries, homeless shelters, soup kitchens, and low-income senior living facilities. And in 2012, Hunger Task Force signed a 30-year lease with Milwaukee County Parks to operate the 208-acre farm for the long term. The lease for the land is very untraditional. It includes an acre of pumpkins to be used at nature centers within the county, 10 quarts of firewood to be used in county lodges, and 40,000 fish to be stocked into 17 county parks, lagoons, and waterways right before the fishing clinics for youth in the community. Next slide, please. We farm to feed the community in need. The Hunger Task Force Farm is a strategic response to an issue that communities all over the nation face, which is access to fresh, healthy fruits and vegetables for people in need. The farm increases that access by growing over 500,000 pounds of fruits and vegetables annually. The farm's purpose is to produce a reliable source of fresh produce for the hungry in our community, making it the only farm of its kind in the Midwest and one of the largest of its kind in the nation. Food bank donations primarily consist of canned foods, limiting the nutritional balance and quality that can be offered for the community's most vulnerable populations. And when donations of fresh are made, they're typically of lesser quality or not in a substantial enough quantity to fill the need. On our 100 acres of tillable land, we grow 24 different types of produce, around 70 varieties, including apples, green beans, broccoli, cabbage, cantaloupe, carrots, collard greens, corn, cucumbers, lettuce, mustard greens, pears, peppers, pumpkins, spinach, yellow squash, zucchini, acorn and butternut squash, green and red tomatoes, and watermelon. So quite a big variety. All of the farm's produce is distributed free of charge throughout Hunger Task Force's over 200 food network sites, made up of those food pantries, soup kitchens, homeless shelters, and low-income senior sites in southeastern Wisconsin. The quality of our produce we supply is of the highest standards, which ties into one of our core values that Jonathan mentioned, which is dignity. Because when we supply farm fresh produce to our community, we want them to feel dignified, along with being excited about what they're going to make with this A-quality produce. The farm enables us to deliver that big variety of culturally appropriate fruits and vegetables within a 24 to 48 hour period from harvest. We do this 5 days a week or more throughout the growing season. We are very proud to have grown and distributed over 5 million pounds of healthy, locally grown food free of charge to people in need in Milwaukee. Next slide, please. At the farm, we also run a unique nutrition education program. This is in collaboration with Milwaukee Public Schools. We employ a full-time dietitian educator who conducts a nutrition curriculum within the Milwaukee Public School Day. 3 local elementary schools participate in this program. Each school has a free and reduced price meal participation rate of 90% or more, effectively targeting low-income students. These low-income students receive nutritious and healthy school meals throughout the day. Our registered dietitian teaches the students about nutrition, how to prepare kid-friendly, affordable recipes, and how to lead a healthy lifestyle. During the growing season, the students make regular field trips out to the farm to work in our quarter-acre school garden. They receive hands-on experience planting, growing their own fruits and vegetables, and they participate in a farm-to-table model of learning. In the farm's kitchen facility, students are able to make fun, healthy recipes with their own hand-picked produce that they can actually replicate at home. There's also a physical exercise component to this program, making sure that the students are physically active for 20 to 30 minutes while they're here at the farm. Introducing children to healthy food choices, how to grow their own food, and why that's important is vital because it creates a healthy relationship with food, having such a positive impact for those students in the future. The way that we evaluate the nutrition education program is through regularly administered pre and post evaluations completed by all students to really quantify the impact the program is making. Next slide, please. In the last several years, we have shifted from 100% conventional farming practices here towards an approach focused on sustainable farming. We are stewards of the land, and we feel it's very important to have a symbiotic relationship with it. We make it a point to give back to the land instead of just taking from it. So we currently are focusing on implementation of enhancements of sustainable practices, such as cover cropping, which is a crop you grow for the soil instead of for your plate. Cover cropping is growing specific crops like rye and oats, just specifically to fertilize and build the soil. It also adds organic matter to the soil and nitrogen in a slow release way that plants can actually obtain it and can actually handle it. We also implement crop rotation, which is the practice of planting different crops sequentially on the same plot of land to improve soil health, to optimize nutrients in the soil and combat pest, disease, and weed pressure. Controlled traffic farming is another management tool. It's used to reduce the damage to soils caused by heavy or repeated heavy machinery passing on the land. So we actually created harvest lanes, which are drive lanes that are placed in the middle of the field to be used when we harvest. And this is to mitigate compaction of the soil. because compaction of the soil often results in poor drainage, increased runoff, reduced soil aeration, and it decreases root penetration and the plant's access to available soil, moisture, and nutrients. We also do conservation tillage, which is tillage within a planting system that covers 30% or more of the soil surface with crop residue. After planting, the residue soil erosion, this reduces soil erosion by water. So instead of tilling up all of the land to plant, we use a strip tiller that only tills an 8-inch furrow for the seeds and the seedlings to be planted in. This keeps keeping the rest of the soil structure in place for bacteria and microbes to help with the nutrient building process. Drip irrigation and fertigation are methods of nourishment to crops that involve controlling the amount of water and fertilizer applied directly to the crop root zone. So this helps reduce the loss of resources through evaporation, drift, and runoff. The benefits of these practices show up on the farm's water bill and biannual soil test, which indicate a decrease in water consumption and an increase in soil nutrient density. Through these practices, the farm has been able to set record yields in several of our crops while ensuring the success of the farm for the future. Next slide, please. We have been actively conserving and restoring 100 acres of natural areas here at the farm, which surround the Root River. This includes 43 acres of oak savanna, 32 acres of wetland, and 35 acres of prairie. This is the oak savanna is one of the 2 remaining oak savannas in Milwaukee County. This used to be the most common ecosystem vegetation in southeastern Wisconsin about 200 years ago, but now it's highly endangered. So we are dedicated to increasing the resiliency of the ecosystem and restoring the farm's natural areas. In 2019, we began a long-term project to enhance the farm's wildlife corridor by undergoing a prairie restoration, turning the existing fragmented ecosystem into a connected refuge for resident and migratory birds and a number of diverse species. Part of the preparation for that prairie project include prescribed burns, which is a method of removal of invasive species of plants using controlled fire. The ecological and environmental benefits of the active conservation and restoration of the natural areas here at the farm increase biodiversity and wildlife habitat, new perennial vegetation, decreased soil erosion, thriving old growth trees, some oaks are 200 years old, and increases the water quality of the Root River watershed and Lake Michigan. The farm's natural areas plan is successful because all of the activities are plan driven and continually monitored as the projects are ongoing. Mapping and data collection are used to formulate plan strategy, and monthly audits ensure the completion of project phases. We also perform regular flora and fauna surveys in conjunction with Milwaukee County Parks Department, and we track land restoration efforts as well. We are glad to be able to share these natural areas with the community, which is always, they're always allowed to hike through the trails in the Oak Savanna because it's Milwaukee County land. Next slide, please. Hunger Task Force receives strong annual support from the community. Successful operation of the farm is made possible by thousands of volunteers each year. Who participate in a meaningful volunteer opportunity here at the farm and assist with planting, weeding, harvesting crops from the fields and the orchards. The community volunteers make up the backbone of our labor force here at the farm and provide a reliable source of labor for all of the work to get done to be able to serve the community in need. Hunger Task Force is 100% community supported. We raise our operating and program funds, including the farm, from the ground up every year from local individuals, foundations, corporations, and organizations. Local corporation Harley-Davidson has been the farm's signature sponsor for 10 years running. The farm's nutrition education program is also supported by a federal USDA SNAP education grant. We would not be able to do what we do without the help of our greater community. We're very grateful and appreciative for all of the support. And thank you, Harkin Institute, for your support.